What's up, everyone? I found an article on archaeologyworld.com that is pretty interesting. It basically contradicts everything that I was told my whole life. It states that new research indicates that humanity arose out of Europe as opposed to Africa. I just always thought it was everyone started in Africa and kind of branched out. I just figured with like different types of climate change and stuff over millions of years, people went to different climates and regions and evolved to adapt to those specific locations. But this article indicates otherwise, so let's check it out. Pre-human fossils suggest mankind emerged from Europe rather than Africa. All right, I just said that, so I'm not going to say it again. The common lineage of great apes and humans split several hundred thousand years earlier than assumed. According to an international research team headed by Professor Madeleine Bohm from the Senckenberg Center for Human Evolution and Paleoenvironment at the University of Tübingen and Professor Nikolai Spazov from the Bulgarian Academy of Sciences. As I read this article, I found on this site that some of the English might not be exactly on point, so I'm just going to kind of read it as to what I think the author intended for the most part. I'll try to keep it, you know, true to the source, if you will. The researchers investigated two fossils of Gracopithecus freybergii with state-of-the-art methods and came to the conclusion that they belong to pre-humans. Their findings, published today in two papers in the journal PLOS One, further indicate that the split of the human lineage occurred in the eastern Mediterranean and not, as customarily assumed, in Africa. That's really interesting, and this article is pretty new. I think this just came out like a couple weeks ago. Oh yeah, May 12th or 16th. May 12th. I can read, I assure you. I don't know. Why did I think May 12th when I saw 16th? Was I thinking 2021 backwards? I don't know. Okay. Present day chimpanzees are humans' nearest living relatives. Where the last chimp-human common ancestor lived is a central and highly debated issue in paleoanthropology. Researchers have assumed up to now that the lineages diverged 5 to 7 million years ago and that the first pre-humans developed in Africa. According to the 1994 theory of French paleoanthropologist Vis Coppens, I'm sure I butchered his name. My bad. My apologies, Yves Coppens, if you're out there. Climate change in Eastern Africa could have played a crucial role. The two studies of the research team from Germany, Bulgaria, Greece, Canada, France, and Australia now outline a new scenario for the beginning of human history. Well, that's quite the international team there. It's like a who's who of archaeological experts. Dental roots give new evidence. The team analyzed the two known specimens of the fossil hominid Gracopithecus freybergii, a lower jaw from Greece and an upper premolar from Bulgaria. Using computer tomography, they visualized the internal structures of the fossils and demonstrated that the roots of premolars are widely fused. While great apes typically have two or three separate and diverging roots, the roots of Gracopithecus converge and are partially fused, a feature that is characteristic of modern humans, early humans, and several pre-humans, including Ardipithecus and Australopithecus, said Bohm. The lower jaw, nicknamed El Greco by the scientists, has additional dental root features, suggesting that the species Gracopithecus freybergii might belong to the pre-human lineage. We were surprised by our results, as pre-humans were previously known only from sub-Saharan Africa, said Joshen Fuss, a Tübingen PhD student who conducted this part of the study. This looks a lot bigger than 1 centimeter. I don't think this is to scale. Furthermore, Gracopithecus is several hundred thousand years older than the oldest potential pre-human from Africa, the 6 to 7 million year old Sahelanthropus from Chad. The research team dated the sedimentary sequence of the Gracopithecus fossil sites in Greece and Bulgaria with physical methods and got a nearly synchronous age for both fossils, 7.24 and 7.175 million years before the present. Wow, that's really wild. It is at the beginning of the Messinian, an age that ends with the complete desiccation of the Mediterranean Sea, Bohm said. Professor David Begun, A University of Toronto paleoanthropologist and co-author of this study, added, "This dating allows us to move the human-chimpanzee split into the Mediterranean area." Personally, as a Baha'i, I think that I believe in evolution and I believe that the Earth is billions of years old. But I don't necessarily believe that humans evolved from apes. I believe that humans have always been humans, and by that I mean that like man has always been. I shouldn't say humans have always been humans. I should say man has always been man, and just over time the species has changed and adapted to its surroundings. So from like what when an Earth or when it, like I think Earth began around 4.6 billion years ago or something, and humanity. Oh, we're not exactly sure, but like life on Earth is probably a billion or 2 billion years ago. I think humans were whatever little tiny organism that existed back then, that they were always that organism. Just over time, it changed shape. I don't believe that we specifically came from apes, without like a, you know, I don't necessarily think that there is a missing link, if you will. Environmental changes as the driving force for divergence. As with the out of East Africa theory, the evolution of prehumans may have been driven by dramatic environmental changes. The team led by Bohm demonstrated that the North African Sahara Desert originated more than 7 million years ago. The team concluded this based on geological analysis of the sediments in which the two fossils were found. Although geographically distant from the Sahara, the red-colored silts are very fine-grained and could be classified as desert dust. An analysis of uranium, thorium, and lead isotopes in individual dust particles yields an age between zero point 0.6 and 3 billion years and infers an origin in North Africa. Wow, that is a long time ago. Moreover, the dusty sediment has a high content of different salts. These data document for the first time a spreading Sahara 7.2 million years ago, whose desert storms transported red, salty dust to the north coast of the Mediterranean Sea in its then form, the Tübingen researchers said. This process is also observable today. However, the researchers' modeling shows that with up to 250 grams per square meter in year, the amount of dust in the past considerably exceeds recent dust loadings in southern Europe more than tenfold, comparable to the situation in the present-day Sahel zone in Africa. Yeah, this is kind of striking to me that these dust particles yield an age between zero point 0.6 and 3 billion years ago. Well, two things. One, that's whether it's zero point 0.6 or 3 billion years ago, that is a very long time ago. But it's also just I'm not too familiar with how dating works with carbon dating and all of that. But it just seems kind of striking to me that their range is zero point 0.6 billion to 3 billion. That's like it's almost like waiting on your cable guy. It's like I'm gonna be there between like 1 and 10 hours or whatever. Fire, grass, and water stress. The researchers further showed that contemporary to the development of the Sahara in North Africa, a savanna biome formed in Europe. Interesting. Using a combination of new methodologies, they studied microscopic fragments of charcoal and plant silicate particles called phytoliths. Many of the phytoliths identified derived from grasses and particularly from those that use the metabolic pathway of C4 photosynthesis, which is common in today's tropical grasslands and savannas. The global spread of C4 grasses began 8 million years ago on the Indian subcontinent. Their presence in Europe was previously unknown. The phytolith record provides evidence of severe droughts, and charcoal analysis indicates recurring vegetation fires, said Bohm. In summary, we reconstruct a savanna which fits with the giraffes, gazelles, antelopes, and rhinoceros that were found together with Gracopithecus. That's kind of interesting because I think even in North America there were rhinos and, well, we know about woolly mammoths, probably, most of us do. Rhinoceri. I think there were certain horses and stuff as well. The incipient formation of a desert in North Africa more than 7 million years ago and the spread of savannas in southern Europe may have played a central role in the splitting of the human and chimpanzee lineages, said Bohm. She calls this hypothesis the North Side story, recalling the thesis of Vieves Coppens, known as East Side Story. The findings are described in two studies published in PLOS One titled Potential Hominid Affinities of Gracepithecus from the Late Miocene of Europe and Messinian Age and Savanna Environment of the Possible Hominid Gracepithecus from Europe. Very interesting. So, did you find that kind of striking yourself? Were you under the assumption that I was, that humanity pretty much started in Africa and went on from there? Let me know down below in the comments. Feel free to subscribe. Let me know if you kind of like these international archaeological articles. All kinds of interesting stuff on here. Hopefully, it's a legitimate source. I don't know too much about it, but the more I read it, the more it seems like, a site that just kind of documents pretty cool stuff. Until next time, appreciate it. That was a terrible closing. I'll figure out a catchphrase someday.